Good afternoon, viewers all over the world. My name is Kenneth Chukwemeka Obaga. And this is exactly 2:46 p.m. Nigerian time, and this is my economics class. Uh, this is more or less the beginning of a series of video lectures that are going to be delivered to you through this channel. Uh, the delivery is going to focus mainly in economics and in these two broad branches, micro and macroeconomics. For today, we are going to be starting with a discussion on the introduction to economies. So we are going to be covering meaning and definition of economies, looking at basic concepts in economics, concept of scarcity, that's the concept of choice, concept of scale of preference, and concept of opportunity cost. As you must know, every meaningful discussion on the meaning of any discipline must first and foremost take a lead from the opinion of people who are considered pioneers in that discipline. This applies to economics. Hence, for us to have a very robust discussion of what the term economics means, it is good that we derive our discussion from the opinions of people that are considered authority or pioneers in the field of economics. These people I'm talking about include people like Adam Smith, JBC, Alfred Marshall, David Ricardo, John Keynes, or Samuel Sin, etc. As we know, Adam Smith was the first man to publish a comprehensive textbook on economics. And as you know, that earned him the title of the father of economics. He was actually the first man to define economics, and according to him, economics is an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of the nation. So Adam Smith was concerned with what actually constitutes wealth in a nation and how can this wealth be grown over time. He was equally interested in finding out why some countries are wealthy while other countries are less wealthy, and what the less wealthy countries can do in order to grow their wealth status and transform themselves from less wealthy to wealthy people. In his book, Adam Smith came to the conclusion or the submission that the wealth of a nation can be defined in terms of the total annual value of production. That means the total annual value of goods and services that are produced within that economy, which is what today is being regarded as national income. What Adam Smith was basically talking about is that for an economy to be wealthy, such economy must have very productive and skilled labor force that will be capable of making use of the resources of that economy in an efficient way to ensure that there is prosperity and well-being of the citizens. Adam Smith went further to look at the kind of policies that can be put in place and strategies that should be adopted by countries in order to ensure that such country experiences consistent growth in terms of their wealth over time. And of course, some of the recommendations he made include that countries should specialize and engage in division of labor. That division of labor and specialization will enhance the productivity of labor in an economy. I equally talk about other things like how government should restrict themselves to basic functions in the economy and avoid intervening in the economy. According to Adam Smith, there should be the principle of laissez-faire, meaning that government should hands off from the economy and allow the private sector to take decisions regarding production in terms of what goods and services they should produce. The government should not be meddling into the affairs of this decision-making process. Another notable economist that have defined economics in the past is Alfred Marshall. And according to Alfred Marshall, economics is the study of man in the ordinary business of life. What does this definition implies? Alfred Marshall means that economics is concerned with how people make choices and decisions about their everyday activities, especially decisions that is concerned with the allocation of resources, allocation of scarce resources. Other economists like Professor Robinson have defined economics. According to Robinson, economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means, which have alternative uses. Robinson's definition has recently been adjudged as the most accepted because his definition encompasses all these basic concepts in economics. He talked about economics as a science which studies human behavior. That means that economics is a science, though a social science, because it studies human behavior. Hence, economics is not like the pure science, chemistry, physics, and mathematics. Though economists employ scientific methods, it follows a systematic approach in its analysis that economics is concerned with the behavior of individual. But then you cannot look at economics as a pure science because economics deals with behavior of individuals and behaviors of individuals are sometimes complex and unpredictable. That's why economists used to say that individual behavior are erratic. So economics is a science but a social science, not a pure science. According to the definition, you see, it talked about end and scarce means. End in the definition implies that human beings have unlimited wants and their needs. And he talk about scarce resources, which are the resources with which you will use to solve those needs. According to Robinson, human beings have numerous needs at every point in time, but the resources with which we will use to meet these needs are limited. And he went ahead to conclude or to cap it with the fact that these resources have alternative uses. Bayer said it will be understood that the basis upon which the study of economics becomes necessary is the concept of scarcity. Scarcity is actually the basic thing that underlies the study of economics. Hence, one will not be wrong if one defines economics as a science of scarcity. Accordingly, I can define economics as a scientific study of the behavior of individuals, businesses, and societies as it regards to the allocation of scarce economic resources in order to maximize benefit. Let's delve into the basic concept of economics. And when we talk about basic concept of economics, we are talking about the fundamental principles and ideas that form the foundation of the study of what is today known as economics. One of the most basic of this concept is the concept of scarcity. Scarcity is what we have just defined and what we've just explained that it is what underlines the study of economics. Scarcity means unavailability of what we want to the extent that we want them. By way of definition, scarcity refers to the condition in which available resources, including time, money, labor, and natural resources, are limited or insufficient to satisfy the unlimited human wants and needs. So, in the context of economics, scarcity is a relative term and not an absolute term. Hence, relative to the unlimited wants of the society, available resources are considered scarce. Scarcity as a term presents itself in various ways to various people. Ideally, we have three basic segments or economic units that we study under economics. And these basic segments are we have the individuals, which are sometimes regarded as the consumer, the individual consumers. We have the business firm, sometimes regarded as the producers, and we have the government. So when you take these three economic agents together, you are taking the whole study of the economy. So scarcity presents itself in different ways to the consumer, this, unlike the way it presents itself to the producer and the government. To the consumer, scarcity presents itself in the form of insufficient fund and time, which limits individuals or consumers from consuming all the myriads of goods and services they would want to consume. Ideally, every individual will want to consume numerous goods and services from the best of cars, best of houses, best of food, best of medical care, best of education, and so on and so forth. But the scarcity or the paucity of funds ensures that individuals are being constrained from consuming all these goods and services. Hence, individuals must have to cope with the fact that their resources is not enough for them to buy all these goods and services they would want. Scarcity manifests itself to the producers in the form of limited availability of factors of production, including land, labor, capital, and so on and so forth. And this limits the producers in terms of the quantity of goods and services that they would want to produce. Scarcity limits producers to ensure that they choose among competing goods and services that they would want to produce and focus on producing base of goods and services. The same way that scarcity affects the consumer and the producer is still the same way scarcity affects the government. And to the government, scarcity manifests itself in the form of paucity or insufficiency of revenue with which government can use to address all the needs, all these expenditure need across all the sectors of the economy. Hence, The scarcity or unavailability of enough revenue with which government can carry out simultaneous activities in all these sectors means that governments are always left with few funds with which they can only narrow areas that they can channel those funds at a particular point in time. Given that we've accepted that scarcity exists and that all our problems, our wants and needs at each point in time cannot be addressed at a particular time, then there is need for us to go into the second basic economic concept, which is choice. Choice means selecting from among the myriads of needs of individuals, both from the consumer point of view, producer point of view, or government point of view. Among all the various needs, all the various wants that we will want, choice entails that we have to select among all these things which one actually is better for us, which one constitutes a need to us. Hence, deciding that there are some of the goods and services we can purchase as consumers, and deciding that there are some of the goods and services we can produce as producers, and that there are some of the ministries or sectors that we as a government can invest our money for the time being, while others are going to be left unattended to. Once choice has been made, what is now left for us is to do what is called a scale of preference. A scale of preference is the third basic concept of economic. Scale of preference, by definitional point of view, is the arrangement of need or arrangement of want in order of their importance or according to preference. When we have itemized the areas or the goods and services that we want to purchase or the goods and services that we want to produce with our limited resources, it is now left for us to order these goods and services in accordance to their importance to us. Hence, once we have already narrowed our goods and services and we scale them up in ascending order, you will see that ordinarily the first, the most basic, the most important to us would appear as the first, followed by the next most important, and so on and so forth. So the ordering of our ranking, the ordering of our alternative in accordance to their preference is what is known as a scale of preference. Hence, once choice has been made, there is need for us to scale our preferences, and from the preferences we've scaled, we will select the most important that we are going to channel our limited resources to. Once we have made a choice, and then we scale our preferences and choose what we are going to spend our resources, there are going to be myriads of items from our choice that are not attended to. And that leads us to the first basic concept of economic, which is the concept of opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? How can we define opportunity cost? Definitionally, opportunity cost refers to the value of the next best alternative that is foregone in the process of economic decision making. Suppose that one Suppose that one just graduated from secondary school and is confronted between choosing to proceed to the university or to go and get a job with which he will be earning monthly pay. If the individual at the end of the day settles with proceeding to the university, and the university is going to take him like 4 or 5 years, for the period he's going to be in the university, if he chooses to engage in academic full time, he is not going to be working. As a result of the fact, within these 4 years, he is going to forfeit all the income he ought to have earned within this period. And not only the income, the job experience he ought to have gained within this period. If going if going to get employment is the most important thing he would have done if he had not gone to the university, it means that the opportunity cost to this young man is the total amount of money and total job experience that he has been lost. In terms of the value of these two for him to choose to go to school. That is the way opportunity cost presents itself. Imagine a small baker who owns a bakery and have factors of production that are limited. Factors of production in form of labor, flour, sugar, and so butter, and so on and so forth. This limited amount of resources he has, he could use it to produce bread, or he could channel it in the production of cake. Assuming that this particular individual proceeds to producing bread. If he produce bread, a certain unit of bread and is going to earn, say, 50,000 when he produces bread. But if he had channeled his resources efficiently, he probably would have produced cake that if he had sold them would have given him say 75,000. If this young man goes ahead to produce bread instead of producing cake, he has made a choice. He has made a choice, and once he chooses to produce bread, the value of the money he would have made from cake becomes the opportunity cost for taking that decision. And that's why we say in economics that every decision we make in economics, both as a consumer, as producers, or even as government, requires a trade-off, because at every point in time, there are myriads of problems confronting our limited resources. And it is now left for us to decide the right way for us to channel these resources. And that's why led John Keynes to say that economics is not just a career, but it's more or less a way of life. So for a study of economics is a study of how to take the best decision in terms of how, where we allocate our goods in order to get the maximum benefit. So economics tells you as a consumer, tells you how to think and you think properly, tells you how to think and take decisions pertaining your consumption so that the maximum benefit or maximum satisfaction or maximum utility will be attained. And to the producer, economics tells you how you take decision regarding how you allocate your scarce resources to productivity. It tells you in the midst of various goods and services that you would want to produce, given the cost of these goods and services and the prices you are going to sell them. Economics as a study will tell you this is the combination of several goods and services that you produce, and once you produce it, as a businessman who is interested in making profit, the amount of profit you are going to make is going to be maximal. The same thing applies to government. Economists as a study will tell government the way that they will maximize their expenditure, the way that the kind of expenditure combination that once government engages in them, the opportunity cost is going to be the most, is going to be the least. The interest in economics is about allocating our revenue in such a way that the opportunity cost that we are going to have is going to be the least. Because if we are left as individuals, as lay people, to go on allocating our resources the way we want, it is possible that we will allocate them suboptimally, just like the case I have given to you here. At this point in time, I'm going to end today's class, and I'm going to encourage you that if you have enjoyed listening to this lecture up to this time, it means you probably enjoyed the lecture. And if you do, I encourage you to like, share, and comment, and follow us subsequently for better deliveries. Thank you.